Now, we have also heard from the Executive Council of Australian Jewry, and we can bring that to you now.
The community is profoundly disturbed and concerned by the rapidly deteriorating state of relations between our government and the government of the State of Israel. There are serious issues to transact between the two governments, including the direction of Australian foreign policy and the handling of domestic anti-Semitism. But none of this is served or advanced through this public exchange of insults that's taking place right now. And behind the leaders of both countries, there are people, ordinary people, Israelis and Australians, who both benefit in enormous ways, in unimaginable ways, from the strong bilateral relations between the two countries in terms of academic and scientific exchange, the medicines that cure our diseases in this country. And we need to preserve that at all costs. So we're calling upon both governments to remember what's at stake, to ensure that calm heads prevail, and to conduct their matters of state privately, diplomatically, and with respect for the long-standing relationship between the two countries. Thank you very much.
Benjamin Netanyahu, in his missive, has said that Anthony Albanese and the Australian government have abandoned Australia's Jews. Is that how the Jewish community is feeling?
Look, we've never used that sort of language, and if we believed it, we would have said it along the way. We've expressed concerns for nearly 2 years now about some of the government's rhetoric and policies and handling of the anti-Semitism crisis. We've had serious misgivings and we've made them known. But we've never felt abandoned. We've always felt like we can speak to government and speak to the public of this country and make our case and make our appeal for a more harmonious society. But we've never felt abandoned by this government, no.
The Home Affairs Minister Tony Burke has said today that, when Anthony Albanese made the decision, when the government made the decision that it was going to recognise Palestine, and picked up the phone and called Benjamin Netanyahu. Do you think a private conversation would have been a more appropriate place for Mr Netanyahu to express his, displeasure with the government?
I do. Look, it's clear to me that the Israeli Prime Minister, as the leader of the Jewish state, feels a sense of responsibility for what happens to Jews in this country and around the world, and that's fine. And the substance of the letter written by the Prime Minister to our Prime Minister conveys a lot of those concerns, and they're concerns that are shared by many Jewish Australians and many wider Australians as well. But it's the manner in which these things are conveyed that's important. And when allies speak, they should speak frankly, robustly, but also in a dignified way. And I think firing off tweets which contain elements of abuse to them, I don't think that's the way to operate.
And then what sort of, impact does these kind of public spats have on the community? Like, is it fueling further tensions, between various elements of the community in Australia?
I think it certainly has that potential, and it pits the two countries as rivals, or it creates a sense of animosity between them, which has never been the case historically. There have been disagreements on matters of policy, but always conducted in a dignified, respectful, substantive manner. And I think it's important that our government here expresses that Israel is an ally. I think that with some of its policies recently, people have questioned whether that's still the case. And I think this is the time to reaffirm the strength of the relationship. There's a relationship that exists between diplomats and between leaders, but there's a much more important relationship and a durable relationship that exists between people. And that's been there for decades. And as I said, it impacts in positive ways both Australians and Israelis in a whole range of ways. Not only the Jewish community. There are many Australians, tens of thousands every year, that go on pilgrimage to Israel to have free access to the holy sites there. The scientific and medical research between the two countries is immense as well. This needs to be preserved at all costs. And these public tit-for-tats really undermine that. And we need to get back to having a strong, meaningful relationship and a conversation between governments.
Are you genuinely worried that those sorts of projects would be at risk, or is this really just rhetoric that's unhelpful?
I hope it's just rhetoric that can blow over, and again, I hope that leaders can pick up the phone and talk through their differences. But clearly the Israelis feel very aggrieved by the direction of foreign policy. I think the denial of a visa to an elected member of the Israeli parliament exacerbated things as well. But whatever the issues are, they can be dealt with and they can be addressed in a responsible, sensible manner, and that really needs to happen immediately.
Chloe, that's probably all I've got. Have you got any other questions?
With Netanyahu, the most politically toxic leader in the Western world. Do you think that these sorts
There'll be a range of opinions within Australian society. Some will perhaps agree with the intervention by the Prime Minister of Israel, and others will rally behind our own Prime Minister. But regardless of the kind of short-term political mileage that's to be gained from these things, as I said, there's so much at stake in terms of the communities, in terms of people, in terms of bilateral relations, and that's what leaders have to think of the most and preserve at all costs. That's what's really important here, not the short-term puns and political gains.
Sorry, you go.
Sorry, one thing I just wanted to pick up from your earlier answers to the earlier questions. Do you think that the post from Prime Minister Netanyahu was undignified?
Look, I do. As I've said, I think that there are serious concerns that the Jewish world, that foreign governments, that people all around the world have when they look at Australia and they look at this country, which has rightly earned a reputation as being a haven, as being a beacon of multiculturalism, of dignity and respect and tolerance, of how we conduct ourselves and how we disagree respectfully on issues. And I think in the last 2 years that reputation has been trashed and tarnished, and some responsibility has to fall to the federal government, which has led us through this time. But again, the manner in which we convey these concerns matters a great deal, and I think using words which are conceived as being insulting doesn't advance things at all. I think there's a respectful, dignified way to make these concerns known and to actually address them in a meaningful way.
Just on the issue of the visa cancellation, would you hope, I mean, Tony Burke this morning was saying that it was the sorts of descriptions used, calling Palestinian children little snakes. Would you hope that if say a member of an Arab government was coming to Australia and had described Jewish children the same way, that, the same standard would be applied?
Well, look, it's been reported in the last couple of days that the words of the Member of Parliament from Israel, Simcha Rotman, have been misconstrued. This person is a pretty fringe political figure in Israel. His political party most recently polled at about 2.5% in polls published in Israel a few months ago. He's a divisive figure, there's no question about it, but he's also a jurist. He led the judicial reforms. He's not someone that seeks to incite and inflame, and I don't believe that there's a serious case to be made that his arrival in this country to speak at synagogues to those who want to come along and listen to him would have upended public order in this country. I think it was a mistake to deny him entry, and again, this is one of the issues that should have been raised privately by the Israeli government with our government, and the matter should have been transacted and dealt with at that level.
That's it. Are you happy, Chloe?
I'm very happy. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it, guys.
Okay, bye.
Thank you so much. Cheers. Thank you.
Thanks, Alex. There you go. Thanks, Evan.
Thank you very much for that.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Thank you.
Okay, that is the end there. That's Alex Ryvchin from the Executive Council of Australian Jewry there. He was speaking after Israel's Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, launched a personal